So welcome back to the Wedding Capture Co, a podcast for wedding photographers and videographers, hosted by myself, Tom, and my lovely co-host, Chris.
Hello.
In this episode, we have a massive catch-up because it's been forever since we've spoken to you, and we've been back from Disney a couple of weeks now. So we talk about our experiences of that trip, kind of going on a holiday at the right time of year, we both think. And also Chris's quest with a holiday camera continues. And let's see if he sells this one in a couple of months' time. And then on from that, also since the time we've been back, Chris has jumped in and done his first ever workshop or piece of education. And so we kind of finished the episode talking about our experiences in leveling your business up by going to workshops, conferences, education, and how that's a really, really good and useful thing to do. So yeah, let's jump in.
Okay, welcome back to the podcast. We are back. It's been a much longer break than we anticipated because we've been on holiday, we've been busy, we've taken a few weeks off, but we're back in full.
Yeah, where has the time gone since we got back?
It's been over a month since we last recorded.
It has, and pretty much in say 2 weeks. Well, it's 2 weeks since I got back. Yesterday.
Yes.
So it must be slightly longer than the 2 weeks.
Yeah, about 2.5 probably weeks. 3 weeks. Yeah.
I've got my ears on there. I'm not taking them off yet. I should probably do that now. We're back. It's been a
some nice ears you've got
It's been a fortnight, so maybe it's time for those to
still in the spirit, to be fair.
Come off now.
Yeah. No, I feel like it. I mean, like you say, like we went to Disney pretty much after recording our last episode, didn't we?
It was right the same week, wasn't it? Yeah, we recorded, I think, early that week, and then pretty much a few days later you flew out.
Yeah, and then you sort of met us out there a bit later on. But yeah, that was really cool. Disney, I've never been to Disney World before. You obviously go a fair bit, right?
Times,
yeah, a few times. And I honestly anticipated going there, getting back and being like, right, that's done. That's that part of my life done. But now, ever since getting back, I've been like, God, I wonder if I can go back at some point.
Those old Disney blues are saying.
Yeah. It's just something about it. Like normally we do sort of adventure holidays. And you know, like sightseeing and things like that, and I think we've never really done a holiday where it's like just activities every day.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like it's more that you're doing stuff rather than just seeing stuff. And I feel like because you're encapsulated in this world which is designed for like pure happiness, it kind of makes you make you want to go back.
And the bubble, I think, they call it that Disney bubble. You do really kind of get caught up in it. That even though that you've flown to America and there's all the joys of being in the US and stuff like that, you do feel once you kind of go under those Walt Disney World banners that you are kind of in literally another world, and you are very much in the bubble and taking care of everything. Yeah,
definitely. I feel like I felt that quite a lot. Like it didn't really feel like I was in Florida or America at all, to be honest, because once you're in that like land owned by Disney, it doesn't feel like America. It feels like something that Disney's created.
I think for people that haven't been as well, it's really hard to explain. Or people that have even only been to like Disneyland in Paris, because there you get off the train and it's like park shops in the middle, and everything's kind of walkable and kind of quite small. But then like when you go somewhere of that scale, like they have their own fire station and their own police, and there's like actual massive roads in between. Yeah. So it's so much more than just the theme parks, but it still manages to keep that kind of that feel everywhere.
Yeah, and it's really epic as well, isn't it? Like you could literally there's so much to it. I think the amount of times that our shuttle bus driver told us it's the size of San Francisco,
and twice
all the parks together.
And you have those kind of things. But I definitely feel like I walked somewhere the size of San Francisco over the time that we were there.
So my watch when we were there was like, you are doing a lot more exercise than usual. And then when I got back, like I think it was last week, it was like, for the last 2 weeks you've been doing a lot less steps than your average, because it was taking Disney into the average.
That's it. Over there, a 25,000 step day is an average, really, isn't it?
Yeah, you can walk a few miles, can't you? There, basically,
quite easily.
But yeah, so we haven't obviously caught up properly in terms of like weddings and stuff in a while. So we're going to have a little bit of a catch up today, and we've also got a tiny bit of a topic to bolt on at the end.
Yeah, because that kind of links into what you've been up to since you got back, as well, doesn't it? So, like I say, we've been back a couple of weeks now. I shot a wedding literally the 2 days before we flew out, so obviously I've managed to deliver that and do that. So it's not all been holiday stuff, or I feel like I came back at a really nice time. I think all of the other times I've been on holiday recently, I've worked up to like the 11th hour before I left. And like I've not even allowed myself to even think about holiday, get excited about holiday, and pretty much until I've landed at the airport or I'm getting on the plane, because my brain's still kind of, have I got my out of office on? Did I reply to that email? Did I deliver that thing? Where this time, I went away, apart from the wedding that I shot the 2 days before, with like pretty much nothing on my plate. Like
Yeah.
I got to almost like the day before that wedding and was like, oh,
If you
like,
can get there already relaxed.
like I'm almost actually ready. Like I don't think there's nothing that's going to have to wait till we get back.
Yeah.
Like apart from the edit, which I'd always kind of like knew that was going to happen because I couldn't edit it in the 24-hour gap between me finishing the wedding and flying.
Yeah. But you knew that you'd already come to terms with that.
Well, like when we went away to the Caribbean, I still had like 3 or 4 on my pile, or stuff was still coming in, or there was still so much other stuff to get to. So it almost allowed me to get excited about the holiday, or I didn't feel that I was kind of walking away from a fire of stuff at home.
Yeah.
And I think it also allowed me to enjoy the holiday fully because I've always likened it before to just literally just being dropped on a moving treadmill as soon as you get back.
Yeah, true.
Like you walk through, you stick all your clothes in the wash, and you're back to work.
Straight back in
because you've obviously got a wedding to shoot, or you've got when to edit, or there's loads to do. But I got back, kind of cleared my inbox, which I was fielding stuff while I was away this time. So I kind of had visibility over what had come in, which wasn't loads.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like it's been nice to kind of, I say, a nice gentle ease back into the season.
Yeah.
And I think, because the last time that I went away at this time of year was 2020.
Okay.
So I came back
just before
within
COVID.
6 weeks, we were in lockdown.
Yeah.
So I think at that time I remember feeling the same and being like, oh, do you know what? I've come back, like I've had my holiday, I feel really rested, excited to get back to work.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same as you. Like we normally go on holiday like around June time, so we normally do like a mid-season holiday, and that is exactly like you say. Like you're working up right to the last minute. Once you're there, it takes a couple of days for your brain to like clear of the fog.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you get back home, rather than like, oh, that was you're not even thinking about the holiday. Like the photos are chucked on a hard drive somewhere unedited. You're not even thinking about the fact you just went on holiday. You're straight back into it. Normally I've got a wedding like 2 days after I get back or something.
Yeah, because you have to shoehorn it in, don't you?
Yeah,
between
exactly.
Those bookings.
Yeah. But it was nice to go out there and like, I don't think it was particularly relaxing. Like I got back and I was like, I'm tired. Like it took me a while to recover. Me and Kate, I mean, we had Kate's 30th birthday thing that weekend. So it was even harder to catch up with like the jet lag.
Jet lag coming back, I feel, is always worse than going out. I don't know whether it's because you're excited to be there and you kind of like plow through it when you're over there.
I mean, it's coming east is harder because you're losing time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, like where I was overnight, but it wasn't really like night times. It's hard to sleep, sort of thing. In sort of English times, we were getting to sleep at like 3 a.m. because it was like that would be like American time, quite late, like 10 probably.
I always go through phases where like I found when we came back, I would kind of get to like 5 or 6 in the evening and be flagging so hard and struggling to stay awake. And if I could get through that. Again, you get to midnight and you're like, I'm wide awake now. I'm ready to go. This is
you
what
power
we do.
through.
And you're like, and I'd gone through my tired phase and then, was still laying there wide awake at 2 a.m. So,
but no, it was good to be on holiday without being exhausted. And like, I feel like a January holiday is actually a good shout.
But I feel like the Disney trip is that's the perfect time to do that. Because if you go somewhere like that looking for a rest, it's hard.
Yeah.
Like I know that we had a couple of days where we were like, we don't need to get in as early.
Yeah.
And like you were sort of texting at 10:30, like we're bored, we're up, we're out, we'll see you at the park. And because there's so much to do and see there, it's really hard to kind of force that rest on yourself because you feel like you're missing what you went there to do.
We didn't really like I say want to go back in any like the next few years or whatever, so we were like trying to pack it into that 12-13 days or whatever. And like you say, we had that rest day where we were like, oh guys, like we're probably not going to go to a park today, we're just going to take a rest. Went to Walmart, got back to the hotel, had some snacks, watched like a film, and then the end of the film it was like midday and we were like, we should probably go to a park, shouldn't we?
And I think because you have that ticket, don't you, that it allows you in whenever you want and the freedom to do so. But to have a holiday like that when you've jumped out of a massive season, like if that holiday comes at the end of the season, you need a rest. You don't need to walk 25 hours a theme park. So it's quite a nice time to go and do it.
It's excitement. I like that. Like being in the hotel room and being like, I'm actually really excited to go back to the park, so I want to do it. Like that's quite a nice feeling. But we both did take cameras with us.
We did,
and for me, the holiday camera saga continues.
Because you sold the Fuji.
So I've spoken about this a lot on the pod, I think. But yeah, so I got a Fuji X100V for holiday stuff, sold it, bought it back again after getting the Sony ZV-1, which was just naff for what I wanted it for, really. Bought back the X100V, sold it. When did I sell it? Was it
when you came back from Dubai?
Yeah,
because you said that you found that when you were on your Vegas trip and the Dubai trip, that the 15 Pro
came
iPhone
out more than
more convenient
in
terms of quality for what you need out of a holiday photo, and the rest of it that was good enough. You don't need a holiday camera.
Exactly. Don't need a holiday camera. All good. And then it came to January, like just before we went to Disney. I was like, I'm just going to take my iPhone. We're done with it. And then like the more it came to it, the more I was like, I want to take photos that are going to like last the test of time. And the iPhone photos are so bloody good, but like I just want to know that I can go in and like do what I want to them, edit them, whatever. And we've been talking about getting this Sony A7C II for a while with Josh, and I just thought I would like pull the trigger on that and see if it's any good. So I bought an A7C II, which is Sony's like compact sort of camera. Yeah. It's basically an A7 IV, but shrunk and with one SD card slot. And the reason I think this is one that I'm not going to be in a rush to sell is because, and I've been having this quite a lot recently, where I'm trying to do a little bit more with a little bit less. And one of the reasons that the Fuji kept being sold was because between holidays, it's literally sat like on a shelf, like gathering dust. I don't like take it everywhere with me because I've got my iPhone, like it only comes on like the big occasions sort of thing. Whereas I know that with this Sony, I can use it for work as like a C cam.
It fits into your system, like being a Sony shooter for work as well. It's holiday camera / backup camera / small job camera. Like if you know you were going to go and film something that you didn't need to carry realms of kit with, if you were working pure minimalist for a small thing, you could literally take that and 2 lenses and you'd probably
exactly
still be okay.
And it has one SD card slot, so okay, it's not ideal, you can use it as an A cam, but I know that it's got better stabilization than most of my cameras, so I'm probably going to end up taking it on the couple shoot for a lot of shoots, even if it's just like strapped to my waist or something like that, just ready to go. I feel like it's good for that. But even then, since coming back from holiday, I've used it. It's been sat on like a sort of tripod thing on my desk and been used as my webcam for my calls. Yeah. So already it's getting pretty much like every other day or every few days it gets used. That's more than the Fuji. So yeah, took this A7C II with 28mm f2, which is a nice little compact lens, and a 55mm, and I loved using it. It was really cool, really nice to use. So
I think again, Disney has a nice balance for it, which is probably one of the reasons I do end up going back so much. Is there's always something to see and photograph there. Yeah. There's opportunities for that, but you don't feel the need that you have to capture. It's very much on your terms there. But I think if you go somewhere else, which is a tourist attraction or kind of like a place, you're like, I want this landscape, I want that. But you also want like selfies and this and that. Where at Disney, there are a wealth of photographers wandering the parks in all the best spots. And you have your photo pass, so you get the photo from them. You don't need to try and convince another tourist how to use your camera to do it, or because you have, albeit not maybe the best quality, but you still have a photographer there with an SLR taking a photo. You tap your band and it appears on your phone like 2 minutes later.
But regardless, it's a good memory. It's better than like giving someone your phone and being like, "You take a photo." I mean, at least that photographer has some sort of
they probably take probably far more photos on a week than we do probably. Literally like in the same place. So you could argue that they're well versed in it. You have your phone for those odd little snaps, but in those kind of real moments of watching fireworks or seeing like Spaceship Earth at night or something, you still have something which you go, I really want a really good quality photo of this. Yeah. It's easier to be intentional, to get the camera out, use it and put it away again.
100%.
Than it is just to wander and be like, oh, I'll do this. And
with our sightseeing holidays, a lot of the time I've got my camera on me all the time. But with Disney, it's like you say, it's like you get the camera out when it's time, when it's like, oh, there's something going on now, I want to get the camera out. The rest of the time it's for the memories, like it's quite busy there, you're not really going to get very many artistic shots of things unless you wait for something to happen or people to clear and then get that shot. So it's more of a like, get your phone out, take a few snaps or whatever. And
I think that's why I took my Leica with me, and I felt like again I had a really nice balance with it this time. Like when again I had it in my bag, it's portable enough that I can chuck it in. If I go, I've seen something, I can see something in this and take kind of say a little bit more of a frame. And I do wonder sometimes if
you did take a lot of your Leica as well, didn't you?
I did take quite a lot, far more than I have on any other trip I think as well. And I wonder if some of that is the time of year that we went because of all the things we've just said, where I didn't go away almost being like, I'm burnt out from work, I'm on this holiday to purely just rest and kind of get myself like feeling sane again. I kind of went away, and I put this in my notes, it's the first time I've probably gone away in a while without feeling like I need a break. Mm-hmm. So it was really nice to kind of have that, to have work on my mind, but in a really healthy way. Yeah. Or just to have a camera to kind of create in somewhere, which I really love, without it being for anybody.
Yeah. And I find that because it's a different type of camera, because you've got your Leica and your Sony's your work camera, and it's your Leica, it doesn't feel like you're doing work.
It doesn't, not at all, no. And you see it again, working with that fixed 28, is something that you kind of, and you have the ability to get kind of closer away from things. You have a lot more kind of, it's just a lot freer. But I do feel that I thought about work, or kind of like work-based kind of businessy things came to me while I was there in a way that they haven't before, and I wonder if that was a timing thing.
So you were saying like the marketing,
like in terms of like, there's a reason that I go back every year. They've sold to me or created something for me which is appealing that I keep going back to.
An experience,
and it's something that I've never really thought about too much in the past, but. And maybe it was because, like, again, like going with you and Kate, where you hadn't been before. And, you've got to go and do this, it's this, or like, and kind of being really excited to kind of take you. And like half of the excitement for me was taking you to experience the things that I really like and seeing your enjoyment of them as well. But the whole experience, and they are a business still that are selling to us.
Yeah,
they take enough of my money for sure.
But when you walk in, you don't feel like you walk into a massive corporation,
no,
do you?
Far more less at Disney than you do at Universal. And a lot of things are probably dearer at Disney.
Yeah.
But it's done in such a way
that you forget that it's
that it does carry a big price tag, or you don't mind paying like overinflated prices for something which is probably less than half that money outside of the Disney bubble.
$6 for a Coke.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But again, at the time you go, it's this, or they put something in a novelty mug, and it's like, take my money.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I came out a walking advertisement for Disney. I've got so much merch. I've got the jumper, the hat, the cups, the like glasses.
And there's so many lessons I think to be learnt from that.
Yeah.
Like don't get me wrong, I'm not going to make Tomland anytime soon. But in kind of, if you can make something. Like, I think for me, Disney are at the absolute pinnacle of client experience.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
In that way that having photographers in the parks to go, there's a magical moment here, we'll capture it. There it is, it's on your band.
Yeah.
But you can buy, you have to pay for that service, or you can buy a print of it afterwards if you want to. But it's this, or the way everything smells. Like I was like, go here, it smells great.
Yeah,
The smell is such a strong thing,
especially for like memories and things like that.
And it's even started me thinking about that in terms of work. And it's almost like, how can I do something, or how can I? Is there a way that I can incorporate scent and attach it to the memories that I give to people? And how that looks, I don't know yet, but it set my mind thinking that way.
I know people that deliver like a candle that they can watch their film
with. That's kind of where I was thinking with it. If that you can, gift them a candle maybe at the beginning of their process, and so they do that whilst they're planning, and then if they use that, again, or something, or just that idea of just having, and I think some of it's that permission of feeling that because they're Disney and I'm me. That you can brand things that you send to people, or have them having that level of awareness, because every little thing that they do, if you send them something really utility, if they use it all the time, it's still in their house, so you're still marketing to other people. And it's that whole thing of just looking at what they've created there, is that you are walking into an immersive client experience. And at the moment I send a very nicely wrapped end product and send some very nice emails along the way, but that's the beginning and end of my client journey. The only thing that I actually do beyond that is the me that you get in my stories and on the day.
I think it's hard digitally to create that experience though, because you're not meeting up with them as such. It's a lot harder to be like, oh yeah, like here's your experience in booking me, because all you're doing is sending them emails.
But it does send me to that. Like, I always used to, when I started my business, I used to go and meet everybody in person. I deliver my galleries in person.
Yeah.
And due to now shooting more volume than I did then, or the pandemic or whatever, I have dialed that back to a pretty much mostly online experience.
Yeah.
And while sometimes I need that just because of the hours of my day that I keep, it's knowing in the end, okay, well, is there a way that if I did do those things in person, or I could have a small office or studio where I could create the experience for them to come in to view their work for the first time, and you could make it smell nice and look whatever, would that heighten the experience?
It certainly would. It's just a case of percentages, isn't it? Like how much would that improve?
Yeah.
I know that obviously there's cheaper photographers that are still doing that, because that used to be the thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Come into
it's very much like a portrait studio model. Yeah.
Yeah. Come into my office and we'll show you the photos and I'll show you the album, and then you can go home with it, sort of thing. That's quite an old school feeling, but I don't think it necessarily increases the value of your work. So it's like, are you doing that just because it makes you feel like you're doing better, or is it actually gonna encourage people to recommend you?
But to be there and me have awareness on that level, which I don't think I have at other times. I've never felt, whilst I've been Disney before, I've just been, this is great, I'm loving it. I've never thought, well, this is just absolute first class client experience. The staff you get there, nothing is too much for them. Like everybody speaks like everyone kind of like, it's so cohesive and so well polished that I kind of think, well, yes, I sometimes make excuses for the cracks in my communication or thing because I am just me.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if I could make that a lot.
I love the idea of marketing on experience and feelings rather than about the product.
Yeah.
So the product is you're buying a ticket to this park, then you're spending all the money in there, then you're buying photos and everything. So that's their product, but they're selling it based on the experience and how it's going to make you feel, right?
Yeah.
When you walk
and
in
all their
there,
adverts
yeah,
are based on, it's the kid on the dad's shoulders with the fireworks in the background. It's all of that. And also, we're in a very similar thing. Like, people should know that their wedding days are hopefully going to be the best days of their lives.
Yeah.
They're going to be emotional experiences. And I think it's made me realise even more that in some ways, even though that I'm a person which works in a highly visual industry, where it starts to matter less when you're marketing, it starts to matter less what those things actually look like. It's using those images to evoke a feeling, or again, to sell an experience. Like, do I need to stand there and go, look, I'm a really good photographer? You can see it and make your own
great
opinions
camera
about that.
Yeah.
It's selling that experience of, if I come to your day, I'm not going to drag you away and make you pose, or I'm going to do this. Like, I'm going to be really flat. Like, oh, you know, if your dress rips, I'll make sure I've got a sewing kit to sew it up, or I'm the person that helps you take your veil out because your bridesmaids don't know how to. It's all those things that add to that experience of your day that make it a better thing.
That's pretty much where I was going with it, is that, and Apple were quite inspiring for me that as well, because again, they're a company like, you either love them or hate them, but they're massive and they can come across quite corporate. But when they sell their products, it's not, oh, it's got this amount of storage and this amount of battery. It's like, this is how this product can make you feel.
Yeah.
And so, like, I've taken inspiration from that in none of my material on my brochure, on my website or anything, not one mention of a camera or anything like spec-wise, are we filming 4K or anything like that. Like, I was looking at a template for a brochure the other day, and it was like, one of the pages was like, oh, we film in high quality, we deliver the USBs, we do high quality 4K drone footage. And in my head I was like, none of that is stuff that I care about. Like, I care about, we're going to make you smile when you watch your wedding film.
There's so much of that, cause I think, and also I found it again when looking at websites, or people almost try and speak to clients like their fellow suppliers.
Yeah.
If, like, I even found this other day, if you go, oh yeah, we just, pop to prep, and we use that term quite colloquially, but if you speak to a bride that's never heard, oh, it's just prep, like,
yeah, it's really hard to stop using
it's
that.
It's almost trying to, you sell that experience of, I'll come to, and it's not using kind of writing things off as almost using work speak, because they don't know. Or I can say to them, oh, I've got, my cameras are 42 megapixel cameras, and they go, well, my phone's 200, so does that mean you're good? They can't equate that much, that hopefully my camera is still will produce a far better quality image.
Yeah.
They just see things as very matter of fact.
Good point.
Don't they? So it's almost, you don't need to kind of brag about a tech thing, because you're going to almost blinding people with science, though. It's just going to go over their head.
Yeah.
But if you say to them, I guarantee that I will make you feel like the best person in the world on your wedding day, they can feel that inside them,
it's so much more about feeling.
It's like you're almost selling with emotion and experience rather than product, which, although that we should all deliver a fantastic product, unfortunately, I think good marketing is about how it is what it evokes in people. And I know Disney have a huge leg up because it's nostalgia, it's childhood, it's a land where everything is perfect or seemingly perfect, and the rest of it. It's us trying to create that for our couples. We know there's going to be drama on people's wedding days.
Yeah.
We know that everything's not going to go to plan. But if we can present them that reality of, even those moments maybe aren't so perfect, we can present them to you in a way that you'll still want to look back on them. Yeah,
exactly. I agree. So moving on then to, we both backlog free now, pretty much, right? Yeah. So as of yesterday, I finished my last keepsake edit, and now I'm backlog free, and it feels good. And I was saying to you as I walked in, like, normally, like, that last stretch is like, you put your head down, you get it all done. And then for me anyway, like, the few days after I become backlog free, I just like, my brain just turns off, switches off for a bit. And don't get me wrong, like, I need to be busy. So I've got plans for the next couple of weeks before my next wedding to like do some stuff to the website and all of that kind of stuff. There's projects I want to work on, but for a second my brain goes dead, because it's like I've just been working non-stop since May last year. Like,
well, I'm sure we spoke about this in the episodes before we went away, but I always feel that, and it shouldn't be like this, that if I have an editing pile, though, it still trumps any other task that I have to do.
Yeah, because
I feel the weight of an editing queue on my back, and I do feel lighter when I don't have one.
It's low level anxiety. That's what
it is. I think. Or you still that thing is that, well, I shouldn't be tinkering with workflows or updating the website, because there's people there waiting for their photos.
Yeah.
And I could be doing that in these work hours. So again, I feel really free, and I'm sure I say it every year, but this year I am determined that because of the spread of my weddings this year, like we were talking before we jumped on, I think at most I probably only have 1 or 2 doubles this year. Where I think the other years I've been bunched, where I've had lots of stuff. So my editing pile has spiked quite quickly, where it's been uncontrollable to ever get to the point where I don't have a queue. But I think apart from a couple of busier months, I still have points where it is perfectly reasonable that my queue shouldn't climb. And as long as I do stay on top of it, I'd like to think that this might be the year where I don't get to a point where I have 8, 9, 10. And sometimes I think I've got to a point where there's been 12 or 13 weddings on a pile. And how sick that makes me feel.
16 last year or something.
Yeah, and I know how I felt in that moment. Where it consumed me.
You feel like it's just never going to end. That's it.
The pile's not getting shorter because you're adding to it as you're taking stuff.
That's just the reality though of it. It's hard to control when you get your weddings. I was telling you again earlier that like I've booked again like a load of doubles in late May and early June, and then again in sort of maybe late July, August, potentially somewhere around that area, another few doubles, and it's like they're all crammed in again. Whereas because last year I did that 10 in July.
Yeah, or a third of your weddings are in the space of
pain. That was actual pain.
10 in 30 days.
And like that's why it got up. So like the editing queue got so much. But so yeah, that's quite hard to control. But I feel like we're lucky in that we're in a business which, let's be honest, is quite hands-off. Once you've created your website and your workflow and you've got all of that stuff sorted, you shouldn't really have to do anything to it till next February anyway. So if you get it all done now and in March, which is what I'm looking at doing, so that I don't have to even think about updating the website for the rest of the year unless it's small things.
I think as well in terms of, for me, and I find this, in terms of consistency for a year is in, not so much maybe with workflows, but to a lesser degree, but definitely with like my preset and things like that. Like I played around with that over the off season to kind of, I knew there were some bits where it wasn't quite working for me or things that I wanted to change. But now that I've shot 2 weddings already this year, I've delivered those, and I'm really happy with the output of those. Even if I start to wander into, the summer and go, oh, maybe I'll leave it alone. And for the most part, that current version of my preset will be the one that I use.
Yeah.
Because I like to look at that year as a whole, and everybody in that year got delivered in that way. Do you know what I mean? So in terms of consistency,
definitely,
my work will evolve year on year, but I don't feel that if I put together a best of at the end of the year, my edit would jump around loads.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
I kind of feel that's if you're a fashion house, like that's my look for 2024.
Yeah. No, it's good to have that, isn't it?
And I kind of feel that's what I wanted to get to. And the same with workflow. If I'm going to add something new at the start of the year, I need to add it then so that everybody gets that treatment that year.
Yeah.
Right, and then going forward.
I've literally, as you said that, I've recently changed my pretty much look or preset. Like I've kept it the same, but now there's less involved in doing it. So I've made it easier for me to just whack it on there. It's pretty similar, like I say, but it's just made it easier for me to just adjust it. Whereas before I was like adding stuff, taking it away for every wedding, and like depending on the venue and stuff like that. This time I'm literally dragging it on, and I can just change the little knobs and just like from there, but like change the adjustment layer. And normally, if you put an adjustment layer on there, it's only a case of like sorting out exposure and things.
Yes, I think hopefully you say with every year you gain another year of experience, or you know that when you had that backlog, that there was probably some pinch points in your workflow at that point, which made those edits take longer. Yeah. So if you make those decisions to change that in the slightly quieter season, it should give you an easier year. Every year that you're in this, you should learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
New problems are always going to arise, but the ones that you felt worst about last year, you should feel that you're eradicating them as you go on. Yeah,
your workflow should get more and more autonomous. You should find like ways around things and easier ways to do things. I've personally reduced the length of my films quite a lot, and I've got like a little spreadsheet of like analytics of like who's booked me this year, how much they booked me for, and the lengths of the films as well. And I can see like year on year the length of the films going down. So I've got less sort of minutes to edit. I've got like an average amount of minutes and total amount of minutes that I have to edit in a year. And I can see that going down, but the money is staying the same. And that's kind of like really my goal is to do, I suppose it's anyone's goal, but my goal is to reach like the highest I can, like somewhere around the VAT threshold, and do as less work as possible in that time.
So you're getting more of your hourly rate on those is going up, and it's all knock-on effect though, isn't it? Is that I find probably when I was more inexperienced, I was making more mistakes on the wedding day. Where, you know, I had a thing probably a few years ago where I was like, do you know what? If I see that beer bottle on the wall in the back before I start groups, for the 30 seconds it will take to walk over, pick it up and yeet it, when I've sat at my desk and had to edit that damn beer bottle out of 50 photos. When I was before I started, I go, I can Photoshop it for like to get like kind of a reaction from.
You're getting paid to walk up to that bottle and move it. Like
now I know that by doing that, as I'm walking back to where I was to that photo, I've just saved myself 20 minutes. In Photoshop at the other end, easily, having to get rid of that, and so you learn smarter, or you know that now when you raise your camera to film something. If you go, I know the best is coming. You might not go, I need this, or that you're being a lot more decisive with what you shoot, or you know what you're looking for more now, so that you're not having to have more minutes in there. There's less filler in your films. The quality of them has gone up because you're shooting a lot more intentionally. Where I think when you're probably younger, you're like, or more inexperienced,
everything.
You're like, I just want to get everything because I don't miss anything. And then I'd rather have loads to work with to cull down from, so I get the best of everything. Where now you know when that moment's going to kick off, or you know that moment's building, and you don't.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's just
you don't need to sit there and
every
film.
year of experience, I think, helps you to narrow that in as well.
Yeah, I agree. I've also put in my notes that I think in a previous episode we spoke about, I very briefly spoke about a business called Your Business Number.
Yes.
So it was about having your separation between your personal phone numbers and your business phone number. And like, I don't like the way that's all sort of smushed into one, basically. And if I'm messaging a couple, it's from my personal iMessage or whatever, and it's just like, and then I'm putting stuff into like websites, and I'm putting my personal number in, and they're sharing my data, and I'm getting calls from like Yellow Pages.
On holiday as well, I got woken up when we were in Disney at 3 a.m. because it was 8 a.m. in UK time for a guy that wanted to talk to me about my SEO.
Oh, really? It's always SEO, isn't it? I get so many SEO emails every day now, and they bloody fill out your inquiry form, and then like it makes it look like you've got inquiry, you buzz, and you go on there. I'm taking a look at your website, and it's not doing very well. And it's like, anyway, so I've always wanted to sort of split those two up, and
without carrying two phones.
Yeah, without carrying two phones, exactly. And I heard on a podcast that this Your Business Number was quite good. It's literally a business called Your Business Number. You pay, I think it's like $8 or something a month, and you get a separate number. You don't need a SIM card or anything like that. You just get that number, and the idea of it sounds great. And for initially, I thought it was working, but they sell it so that it works with WhatsApp Business. So essentially,
which is a separate app, isn't it? Right, when we spoke about this at the time, so you don't have to have all of your work stuff in your kind of thread of
personal chats and stuff. Yeah, exactly. Which I love, and WhatsApp Business works really well. And the idea is that so you download WhatsApp Business, you put your business number into that, and it works with that. But it only kind of works with WhatsApp. So if the way I read it, and the way I still read it now on their website, is if someone tries to call you through your number, then it will redirect to your phone, to your personal phone number.
So you still got that problem if someone wants to ring you up and chat rather than email and stuff.
Yeah, but you can tell it's coming. Yeah. It's being redirected. But I found out that actually wasn't the case. So they have to call you on WhatsApp. They can't call you normally.
Okay.
And that's a deal breaker for me. So I message.
Because most people, I very rarely actually call or video people through WhatsApp.
Yeah.
I use FaceTime or just generic phone
just normal call,
rather than having to actually use WhatsApp.
So they can't text you or iMessage you. They can't call you unless it's through WhatsApp. And when I found out this through customer service, it was like the call redirect's not working. It's like, call redirect only works if you use WhatsApp, if they use WhatsApp to call you. Yeah. So great. So in the end, I was like, this isn't worth it then. So I went hunting for another thing, and their main marketing thing is you're not going to get a phone contract for $7 a month. So our business number is going to be the cheapest. Max,
I'm going to go and let him out just then. You carry on talking.
Yeah, okay.
I want to listen to this.
Yeah, so you're not going to get a cheaper contract than $7. So your business number is going to be the cheapest way to get a separate number on your phone without getting a whole new phone or whatever. But actually, I went on and had a look at some like pay-as-you-go SIMs and that kind of thing, like things that you can top up. And obviously, with most phones now, you can get not just a physical SIM card, but an eSIM card as well.
Okay.
So and I think in America, the iPhones are sold without a physical SIM tray now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you can only put eSIMs. I think some of them are sold with only eSIMs now. So essentially, what I've got now is a SIM card, a physical SIM card in the phone, and a digital one that's like in the settings, basically.
So how do you add it? It literally just it sits like in your settings.
Yeah. So you literally, so I found there's a provider called giffgaff.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, and they use O2 Signal.
They used to sponsor like the Big Bang Theory or something.
Did they?
I think when I started on like E4, they used to be sponsored by that thing or something.
Okay, yeah.
Random. Yeah, if you're old like me, you used to watch when it was actually on E4.
They're quite good, like price-wise, they're really good. And they use O2 Signal, which I'm not massively keen on, but I didn't really need it because I've got my own Signal on my personal number anyway. So giffgaff do £5 a month for it's like 2 gig of data or something. But again, I was only using it to receive calls, and my personal data is being used to send those WhatsApps and whatever. So I'm not using it for any of the data. I'm literally just paying £5 a month for that number and that eSIM. So I switched to giffgaff. I just signed up for giffgaff. It's £5 a month. I use the eSIM on there so that you can go into your phone and you can be, if you're sending an iMessage, it allows you to do, or just a text message, it allows you to do send from primary number or send from business number. And I've got now that number's set up on WhatsApp Business. They can call me, and it will show that someone is calling my business number.
So that's one of the things that I find with the most trepidation is that when you answer the phone, you don't know whether someone's
your mate, or
is there potential booking, or it's spam, or what avenue, in what capacity you need to speak to someone, because you don't want to answer the phone and go, oh mate, and then they go, oh, looking to book you for a wedding, or or talk about something, or so that it's just to have that clarity before you even pick the phone up.
Yeah, you can see someone is calling a business number. That means it's going to be a business transaction. I'm going to answer that now. So now they can text me, they can call me.
Or on the flip, if you're out of business hours, you don't have to answer it at all.
Yeah, true. Yeah. And equally now, if I call out, I can call out from the business number as well. And nothing's changed. I can still use my phone as normal. I fully recommend having a look at that because it's very flexible. Great way to mentally separate your business and your personal. And one more thing is, let me just have a look at what it's called. Skip.contact is a website I've been using quite a lot.
Okay.
And so if you open WhatsApp Business and then realise that you can't message the people you want to message because you've got to add them as a contact first for WhatsApp to recognise.
Because with WhatsApp, I've had that so many times which will lead on to a point I'm going to make in a minute, is where I maybe had a Zoom call scheduled and it hasn't worked for them, or it's gone out and you've been kind of speaking in tongues and they've just gone, ring me. I've had to then add their number from their contact form to WhatsApp so that I can WhatsApp video call them. Yeah.
So skip.contact is a website where you literally you go onto your phone, open skip.contact, and then you put in a phone number, you press message this number, and then it'll automatically open WhatsApp. And with their number there, so you don't have to add them. It's there.
That's really, really good.
So it's now saved as a shortcut, because you can save Safari shortcuts, I think, or Chrome shortcuts on your home screen on your phone. And now I just use that every time I want to message a couple.
So it opens up just like an app, doesn't it? You can have the button for it, can't you, as like a shortcut? Yeah.
So a combo of that has worked wonders for me. So now I WhatsApp every couple, and it's been a really good experience having them separate and not all in one place, but still on the same phone, so I'm not carrying around 2 different devices.
That's really good, because that comes on to the last thing that I had kind of on our catch-up phase, is that I've been using Zoom since the pandemic for my video calls. When I moved over to video calls, Teams doesn't like me because I'm not a Microsoft. They want Teams because I'm on a Mac. It doesn't seem to like me. Zoom, again, in some ways the 40-minute limit that you get for the free account is good, because it means that it controls the length of that conversation. But a lot of my couples don't use it and find it clunky, or have to download it in order to speak to me, which I want, again, to make it a really easy user experience.
Yeah.
So I've been looking at either going to Google Meet, or WhatsApp was the one that was almost looming there, because most people do have it.
Yeah.
You could look at Facebook Messenger, but most people don't have a Facebook account, or some people haven't have Facebook accounts anymore.
Pretty much everyone has WhatsApp.
Pretty much everybody has WhatsApp. Yeah. But again, it was having that point of how much of those threads from couples do I want to have littered in my one. But if I could have a business WhatsApp, and then even keep to the point where I'm emailing about final meets or chasing contracts, I know that if someone did that to me through WhatsApp, I would find that a much easier way to keep on top of everything than having to check my inbox all the time.
I would recommend Google Meet though. That's what I use.
Is it?
Yeah, because you literally set it up in your calendar, in a Google Calendar app.
Yeah.
So like it's already there, and then everyone can get onto it without downloading an app. I don't believe
you can do it browser based.
Right?
You can, yeah.
So everyone's already got it.
Yeah, and I have Google Workspace anyway, so I have that level there.
And also the latency seems a lot better than Zoom. I don't know what it is about it, but it's almost instant. There's never that awkward pause between you and Zoom talking over each other. And
the thing that annoys me with Zoom as well is that it decides that it does glitch out, is that it speed talks everything they've said in that glitch on it. And I talk fast as it is, but even I can't understand it when it goes and then you're trying to listen to what they're saying now. And it's so I have been looking for a better method to kind of because I have had, again, probably only a handful of instances of that, but I don't want any instances. I want it to be really easy to arrange a call with me, get on a call with me, and I still find that most of my couples, even that use Zoom, are using it on a phone or a tablet.
Yeah.
So if there's an easy way with an app which they are used to using to do that,
you don't want to make them go out of their way to be, download this app to talk to this person.
Yeah, especially in that initial booking stage.
Yeah.
When you're like, they're maybe talking to others as well. Is again, you want to be the person to go, that guy was the easiest to deal with at this point.
Yeah.
If we're going to get involved with him, I want the rest of the journey to be easy breezy, not have to download this and do that and the rest of it. And download having Studio Ninja so that everything lives online, and so they don't have to then try and get a PDF and edit it to add signatures and all that. Like, I've made that bit super easy.
I remember you used to give someone a thing and be like, you have to print this and then sign it and then scan it or post it to me or whatever. And those days are long gone now. So
and to be honest, the world that we live in now is that they're used to using these tools or having that level of ease. They expect that from you, especially when you're at a price point that reflects that level of quality. So I think that's the last thing that I have looming on my out of season to do or change.
Yeah, it's a good time to experiment with it as well and try a different couple of ones and see how they work. And
also it's that time of year, isn't it, where we're probably doing more of this. We are kind of still in that busier booking time. The weather's still, it's not too bad today, but it's not, people are sat in or going to wedding fairs, looking at venues, they're doing those things where you probably are having more of these calls than you have on a weekly basis.
Yeah,
than maybe it's a good time in the summer.
To sort out that sort of pre-booking workflow, isn't it now? Yeah. And try new things and stuff, And
also, that's going to lead into the last point we're going to make, and then we're going to go and talk about education.
Yeah.
Is I think I should talk about it. I spoke about my stories the other day, and speaking to other suppliers, it's been a thing. Is what's with the ghosting?
Yeah.
I feel like, again, I've had a lot of that, more so than ever before. People just not getting back to me. I
don't want to touch wood. I've not had this issue yet, but I know a lot of people have. But I feel like, I don't know. I feel like you have this as well, so I don't really know what the answer is. But I feel like I'm at a point where everyone who messages me is ready to book. By the time they've filled out the contact form, they're ready to book.
Yeah.
And so I
used to be at that point.
Okay.
We'll probably get into it, especially when next time's episode is all about pricing.
Yeah.
But I actively show my prices. For that reason, is that apart from knowing whether I'm available on that date, that by the time a couple inquires, they know how much I am, they've read all about my approach, they've seen my work and the rest of it. So the only thing is, are you free on this date, is the only thing from stopping them from jumping on a call and pretty much booking me.
Yeah.
Where I seem to be getting more emails at the moment of people just genuinely fielding availability, or even, again, despite showing my pricing, being, can you just send some links to your pricing guide?
Yeah.
When the pricing link in my top nav is next to the contact one that they've clicked.
Yeah, I loved your little rant about this.
And again, I never want to come across like I'm angry or ranting on something like my stories, but I just feel like it needs to be addressed because it is there, and I offer it for that reason.
It's a good place to address things on your story, because it's like people who may be wanting to contact you already know then that your prices on your website and can have a quick look.
And made it even easier is that on my bio thing on Instagram. So even if you don't want to head over to my site directly and then have to go through it on there, if you find my work on Instagram, hit my bio thing underneath, and that comes up then with links. That is my website, my pricing, contact. So that it's there as well. I'm giving you every opportunity to kind of do it, and it just kind of makes it a little bit annoying when you get, I'm free on that date. That's a cool venue. And then you just don't hear back once you've sent the pricing guide. Or even, I have had some people come back and go, you're out of our price range. It's like, but look. And then
it's already there.
And it just seems to be that it's never been that much of a problem. Over the years that I've been doing this up to now, most of the times, if I get a call, I know that person is 90+% interested in having me at their day.
Yeah.
And I feel that at this time of year, at the moment, it's not like that.
Yeah, I feel like it must be to do with the market changing. Again, I can't massively comment on it, but I do think the market is changing in that everything's done digitally for a start, right? So they're going to go on Google, they're going to click the top 5 or Instagram or whatever it is when they're doing their wedding planning for an hour or two. They're going to open 5 websites. I like all of them. I'm going to message all of them, and then whatever one comes back first, I'll book in book in a call with them, or whatever one, or maybe I prefer one, and like you end up becoming a list now of suppliers. And like I think I had a phase of it, like maybe a year or two ago, where I was getting ghosted a bit, and I think it just comes down to like, you're now in a potential list of suppliers. I don't really know
that, or it's not a me
people
thing.
Are shopping around.
It's the fact that if people are looking at a list, that lots of other people now don't show their pricing, so that if they send a blanket email to 5 photographers, it's a copy and paste job. If on their list of 5, if 3 of them don't show their pricing, the other 2 that do, they've just sent a blanket email. I don't know, maybe, but. That's it. I don't want to bring the negative down. I just want to say that if you're suffering this as well, you're not alone. And
we've got to address these things.
It's one of those things which is kind of annoying me at the moment, because I put everything in place so that if I got sent an inquiry, I could allow myself mentally to get excited about it, or go, oh, maybe they're out there, this is going to happen, and kind of get a bit more invested than I normally would if I didn't show my price. And it was just, another guide's gone out. Until they come back, I'm not taking it seriously. Yeah, and I
do feel like that's a good place to go with it on a positive note, is that there are things you can do if you're not doing them already to stop this ghosting. And I feel like every day I'm seeing now in the videographers group on Facebook, like, oh, what is with the ghosting? So many people ghosting me. Even some photographers have posted on their main feed, like, I'm getting ghosted a lot. Please only contact if you're interested. And I get that because it's a waste of time. But I feel like there's a couple of things you can do off the top of my head, is, because I haven't written these down, is if you're getting ghosted a lot, just maybe put your price online for a little bit,
or even a from price.
Or even a
starting from, so people can know that they're even in the zone of where you are.
And then the other thing is just make it easy for people to move on to the next step, and make it very clear. I don't know what your initial reply to emails are, but mine literally has a step-by-step guide on what's like. Thank you, like, cheers for inquiring. This is what you have to do next. This is what you're doing after that, and then we book.
I'm very much controlling that journey. And even mine has as to the point. It has, kind of, thanking them for their email. Yes, I'm available on your day, or no, I'm not. And then for the next stage is, I'm sure you've had a good look at my work already, but if you're not sure on how I work, there's a link to my approach page. If I've got a blog post about the venue that they've inquired about, I've got, oh, great news, I'm not a stranger to your venue. Here's a venue I went to there before, if you want to get a feel for what I can do at your venue. And then there'll be a request to message me back to arrange a call. There, which and you can, and that's, don't leave it open. You're pretty much giving them clear instructions that if you want to speak to me, you need to reply to arrange a call.
Exactly.
You're not leaving it open as to, do you want to book? Don't you want to book?
Yeah, tell me more about your day.
And I think even now, which again, I might even get to the point where I might even refresh that email and add the pricing link in as well. And go, I know it's on my site, but just to make sure that we're on the same page in terms of budget, here's a link to my current pricing. And just have it there. So everything is in that one email, and do it that way. And that way, there's no room for anybody to hopefully, other than go, yes, we'd love to book a call, or sorry, you're out of budget, come back.
You're literally, at this point, you're at the bottom of a market, like at the marketing funnel, and all you got to do is tunnel them to the booking. Like, they already want you, they've already inquired of you, they like your work. All you got to do is lead them. And like, people like to do things as simply as possible, as we know now, like at least time, least effort. So if you're applying with, oh yeah, thanks, like, tell me more about your wedding, and then it's just like, oh, now I've got to like send another
and when
paragraph.
They've told loads of people more about their wedding, they're kind of done with it. So
exactly.
Keep it that way. But I think that's a really good place to go. And then obviously, in the 2 weeks since we've been back, you went off to school again, didn't you?
I did, yes. So I did my first ever bit of education.
I'm going to close that door because now I'm really cold. No,
I am freezing,
And so you tell people about law school.
Shivering over here. You just said law school. I love that. They should have called it law school. So I did my first ever bit of education. I started this business in 2015, and I've never bought a course. I've never been to a workshop or done anything like that. So I think. So we I booked the Lawson Film School, which was a couple of weeks ago.
I said law school. There's a photographer called Alan Law.
Oh, right, okay.
Who runs This Is Reportage, if you know that. So and he runs a registration called Law School. It wasn't
Law school. Okay,
it was Lawson's
Lawson Film School.
Yes.
So the Lawsons, they're videographers that I follow. I love their work. The way the way they portray themselves is very similar to like what we're going for. Their films are fun and upbeat, and even though they charge a bit more, they haven't gone for that really luxury dark sort of, the style that you sort of expect when you're.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that their style is super editorial
No.
in film. It's still quite documentary and moment driven.
Yeah.
But at a premium level. Yeah.
So I identified them as people that okay, these are people that I could learn from, and again, I've never done anything like this before, but off season I thought, you know what, I'm gonna do it. Let's see how much these things
also,
can
as well,
actually
I
help
think it's
me.
probably worth saying at this point is that we're both huge fans of their podcast.
Yeah.
And I think listening to Creative Commune, which they run with Liam and B,
Don't advertise
from
on
the
the
Crawleys,
podcast.
is
No.
that was probably one of the reasons. Or that when we spoke about doing a podcast, that was probably one of our main inspiration podcasts.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
I love the fact that because they are industry people, they talk about the industry, but it still stays super conversational. And I feel like I'm round the coffee table
That's exactly
with them.
what we were doing.
So I'd have been a little bit starstruck, I think. Like, not in a point that I'd be like a giggling girl, but it's really odd when you listen to somebody. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I listen
to them for an hour every week talk.
Yeah, I do as well.
And then to be like, oh, that's them. I would still be a little bit,
It was very much like that. I think, Kate knows, I watch all of their things when they post. Kate's like, are you watching Lawson's films again? I was like, yeah. But so it was a bit like that, and I listened to him every day. Even when I was walking from the hotel to meet them, I was listening to their latest episode because I hadn't caught up with it yet. And I said hello, and I was like, it's weird. I was just listening to you. But yeah, it was kind of weird meeting people who you hear every day for every week for a year, and that was strange. But yeah, so I thought I'd give this whole workshop or film school thing a day. I had no idea didn't go into it with an expectation, no idea what I was going to get from it. But I think to umbrella this whole topic, I got what I wanted from it, which was at this point there's not a lot of. Well, there's always learning room, right? But there's not a lot of huge, oh my God, maybe I should be doing that. That's crazy moments, because we've already tried things, trial and error. We've got to a point where now I'm on a flow of what I'm doing.
But also, without kind of, standing here and completely blowing your trumpet, you've built a successful business.
Yeah.
Through learning of other methods, however that's got you there, or trial and error or whatever. Yeah. You've still managed, without direct industry education, going to workshops, conferences, whatever, you've still built a successful business.
Yeah.
So, as I say, I think sometimes it's nice to go to or imagine it must be nice to go to education at that point, because you're not going with this needs to change my life.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm here still working a day job. The things that I learn at this are going to give me the skills to do this full time.
Yeah.
You're going at it almost peer to peer.
Yeah. If you're starting up and you're going to this, if I went to this when I was starting up, I'd be charging so much more right now, and I'd be so much more experienced. I kind of went into business with the thought of I'm going to go on YouTube and get as many YouTube videos as I can down me and try and learn from there. But I feel like what I learned, or what I could have learned in those 7 hours just starting out, is more valuable than anything that I got from YouTube when I was starting out. And I watched behind the scenes videos on YouTube and stuff like that, but they laid it all out on the table, everything, their workflow from start to finish and how they think about films. And they weren't afraid to answer questions. And it just felt it felt really open as a conversation, and I really enjoyed that. And so while there was a couple of things that I took away, I wrote a lot of notes down, but a lot of it was, oh, they'd do this as well as me, and maybe I could do this, slightly tweak this. But I think it was two things. It was a couple of little nuggets that I've taken away. I don't want to go too much into it, because obviously, I paid for this film school. They educate. I don't want to give it all away as such. Yeah. But I feel like in terms of for me, culling the footage and what you film and stuff like that was the most helpful bits for me. And for a lot of it, it was validation, as it's sort of an industry where you kind of talk about what you do, but you sort of assume everyone does the same thing or whatever. To go to someone whose work you really look up to and whose business you look up to, and that they do things in very, very similar ways to what you do, it's suddenly I'm on the right track. I'm doing things in the right way, if you know what I mean.
And I think I found that I went to Photography Farm, which is now Thrive, in 2017, which is more like a conference. So they have speakers on the first day, you can shoot on the second day. And I remember going to that in 2017. At the time I was like, I don't know what, I'm shooting roughly 20-ish weddings a year. I'm, doing my thing, and going to that and seeing some people speak from the States, or even just people from London photographers as well, and being walking away going, I know nothing about this industry. I feel like I've been in standing in a dark corner walking around in circles, and someone's just turned the lights on and I'm actually in somewhere huge. the fact that things like online galleries exist, the way that people were delivering their work, the way that what wedding photography could be, I was still very much in my box of this is what it has to be from, again, because not really. And again, probably Instagram wasn't what it is then.
Yeah.
I'm actually going and seeking other people's websites or Googling other photographers. It was really easy to kind of be in this little kind of like, you know, tiny goldfish bowl of the people that I knew around me and go into that. And I think that's the reason I've gone back every year. And now I've been going 7 or 8 times. The takeaways are probably like, I don't walk away with that absolute like, oh my God, like I'm so overwhelmed, like I need to change everything.
Yeah.
But a mixture of a dose of inspiration and to come at this part of the year where you're not swamped under.
It's definitely inspiring as well. I think, and I mean, they said this on their podcast on Monday, I think, but even them doing it gave them the boost for like, oh, a new season's starting now, like to get back up. And I felt like for the last month or so, probably since just before Disney, I've been in a spot of I don't want to touch a camera. Like I really don't, because I don't do corporate work anymore. I don't do YouTube anymore. Weddings is the thing I do, and I'm really happy just to have not touched a camera for a bit. And like going to that has given me that kind of boost that I need. And I went to it also before I did my last edit, and something clicked in me that when I got back and did that final edit, I felt much more confident in doing it. And it was like a 15-minute film, which I don't do much of anymore anyway. But I often look at my 15-minute films and I'm like, I'm not sure what's wrong with it. Something's wrong with it. And I know what's wrong with it is the fact that I don't know what other people are doing in theirs. And I know this sounds weird because you shouldn't compare yourself to other people, but they showed off a bit of one of their long films. And I was like, this is so similar to what I'm doing. Why do I hate my stuff?
And I think that's that thing, isn't it? And social media is definitely really bad for this, is that they're somebody which you know, and I do it with other photographers, almost aspire to. You look at them, you look at what they're charging, you look at the work they're making or what they're putting out, and you're going, oh, this is like, that's exactly where I want to be.
Yeah.
Like that, like if I could just be like that, that would be. And then when you get there, it almost, as much as it's amazing to meet these people, it almost humanizes them as well.
Yeah.
Because luckily you go to a workshop with them where they are so open with what they share on the day.
Yeah.
It's not kind of, oh, we've taken your money and that we're still going to keep these closely guarded secrets.
Yeah.
Is that it's allowed you to have that almost light bulb moment to go, we are doing the same things. They are doing what I do. Maybe there's a couple of tweaks, but it almost reassures you to go, no, I'm on the right path.
It gave me confidence.
Yeah.
And I got back and I edited that film in like 2 half days or whatever it was. Like absolutely like, and now I look at the back of that film and I'm like, that is really good. And that, because I had that confidence going into it that actually this is normal. This is how you make the film, and like this is how it comes together.
And I know that you shouldn't as well. But I think one of the things that I always underrate from how I feel is I always feel inspired listening to the speakers, and sometimes people which are way above or in very different areas of the market or genres that aren't always particularly for me. I can appreciate it. And it fascinates me because they do things in such a different way to I ever would, because they're maybe more, they do a lot more post stuff or do something very different. And some of it's almost just that like permission.
Yeah,
do you know
definitely.
what I mean? To go, well, they do it.
Yeah.
And they're just the same as me. They're just normal people.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, if they can, maybe I can. And it almost gives you that permission. Like I know when I went to Sam Docker's workshop last year, he did like a really interesting thing with me, which I'm going to talk about in next week's episode too much about pricing. But to kind of just go, well, I can't do that. And you go, well, why not?
Yeah.
And it's almost like you need someone because you're the controller of your destiny in your business.
Yeah.
It's really hard to see things. And sometimes you just do need someone over the top of you, like which if you were in a normal job would be your boss, or if you were a kid it'd be your parent, to go, yeah, you can do that.
Yeah.
Go on, yeah, you can. And because you only have like yourself kind of self-sabotage sometimes thinking, well, I can't do that because I'm not there or whatever. That sometimes workshops do that. And I know you shouldn't, but I also find as well is that I always kind of like to see where I fit in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like if you're sat in a room with like how many others were with you at the film school?
So I think there was 7 in total.
So there's 6 other filmmakers.
Yeah.
Did you know any of them?
No.
So you're almost rocking up to.
I've heard of one. I follow him on Instagram.
Yeah, so you rock up to people, and you're kind of looking at people which directly are your peers, really, or in bigger geography competition.
Yeah.
And they're all filmmakers making wedding films in the UK. And sometimes it's nice to look at him and go, well, I think I'm better than him. or maybe like, I'm further down the road than him.
Yeah.
Or equally, you can go, oh, that guy's 2 years in. He's so good.
There was people from all kinds. Like there was one guy who did photography and then was just starting up his video stuff. there was people just starting. There was people who'd done it for like longer than me, but like had maybe been stuck in a bit of a rut about it and just wanted some inspiration on how to do things differently. And then like my situation was, I don't want the cobwebs to start building now. I've found like a flow. So yeah, there were people from all, and like you say, like it gives you that confidence of, oh, actually, like I have come quite far.
And it's not even I'm better than you thing. But like I say, it's almost giving you that kind of realization of where you sit. Because you scrolling at someone's work on Instagram and then them talking openly about their business next to you, you do kind of get a thing of, oh, do you know what? Like I'm 8 years in, I'm at a good place. I am, I've done this, or do you know what? I need to work hard because that guy's 2 years in and he's good with me already. And it almost can almost, you learn the skills that you need to validate where you are, but also seeing other people can make you hungry. Rather than go, oh, I don't know nothing. I'm so bad, I should give up. It's a really healthy thing,
definitely,
isn't it?
And it's interesting to hear what other people think about their own work as well. Like another videographer there was a bit like, oh yeah, I'm not sure about my style and stuff like that. Like my couples love it, but I'm not sure. I was just there, like lean into it, just like this. If it's your style, like, and your couples love it, nothing else matters.
But I find, again, like, since we've been doing this podcast, or even like the stuff that I have with the Coactive as well, is that I actually have now, probably I'm at a point in my career where I've never had more peers around me that I feel that I can talk to.
Yeah.
Where if you're not someone like that, if you do geographically live in the sticks, or that you're not, you're more introverted and you struggle, or you don't go to education or have any opportunity other than at weddings, where you probably wouldn't meet other photographers and videographers. To do that, it's really nice to have those conversations just to find out what is going on or what other people do think or what other people do worry about. That is like
definitely.
Just kind of widening your network. Like you now know of a videographer from Scotland, who you might speak to again in the future, and I know people from lots of other parts of the industry now, or lots of other parts of the country that I would never have bumped into if I hadn't have gone to a conference or gone to a piece of education.
And it sort of makes you realise that, other people are thinking like have the same anxieties or the same questions,
having the same worries that we all have.
But overall, I genuinely think it was really good. Like I say, like they laid everything on the table. I stayed there for a hotel the night before and the night after, just because it was in Manchester and I just didn't want to drive it afterwards. Basically,
but you want to wake up, don't you, refreshed and ready to absorb knowledge.
Yeah, exactly.
Not in the car in the morning going, I don't know where to park. You roll in after like a 4-hour drive full of anxiousness and the rest of it, because you don't. I always think that with education is that you need to be in a right frame of mind or the right place in your business to hear that advice. Like I always think some of the things that I've been to, if 5-year-old me had heard that, they wouldn't have taken it in the same way as that me now hearing it would have heard it. And so I think you need to be...
but I don't need education, I'm doing well as it is sort of thing,
And even, like I say, a much more zoned in thing to that is okay, I know I need to get up in the morning, like have my coffee, have my routine, and go in there with a clear mind, not worrying about are there any emails that's going to ping off in my pocket while I'm... And almost you can focus solely on that education.
100%. I think the hardest bit for me was... And I feel like this might sound a little bit big-headed, right? But given the fact that we do this, and I generally like the education direction that we're going in, and that I tend to like help a lot of other videographers out if they message me with questions and stuff like that. The hardest bit was not chiming in when someone's got a question. So there's like a few of us there, and one of them asks Lawson some questions and whatever, and they're like, oh yeah, we don't do that or something, and I just want to be like, oh, I think this is a good idea.
You're the kid in the class. It's like, I know the answer.
So I literally, for some things, I just had to stay like
sit on your hands,
and just not say anything. Whereas like my natural instinct is to be like, oh, actually, I've tried this method and it's quite good for doing this stuff. Even if like they've got one method of doing it, I want to chime in and be like, these are all the different ways you could possibly do things, but I'm not the educator there. They're paid to see them.
And that's what I think as well, though, the social element around sometimes a workshop. The fact like if you stay overnight, I'm like, well, apart from go back to my hotel room and watch crap Freeview, what else have I got to do? Yeah,
see, I thought that everyone would like stay afterwards for a bit, but the moment that thing was stopped, everyone went home.
Maybe that's just
that's
just a videographer thing. Like I know some of the workshops that I've been to, it's always been like when are we knocking off something?
I was expecting let's go to a drink afterwards, but everyone's left straight away. So I was I
remember going to a Thrive once and hanging out with. I met a new friend, a guy who was also called Tom, so that's how we became friends. And everyone else kind of dispersed off, and we went for like a dinner together afterwards and sat up chatting for like 2 hours. I only met the guy that morning. Like shout out, I don't know if Tom has Heisenberg listens, but he was a dude, and we became firm friends that day, and we still chat all the time now and stuff. And
yeah, so social element is good.
And it was really, really nice just to kind of, I went knowing equally nobody, so did he. Like, and then, and kind of, and in that kind of time afterwards to go, oh, well, do you remember when they said that? Actually, I do this. And once you're out of the education, or out of that kind of, we're learning this.
It's a back and forth.
That's a nice time. You're all equals.
A bit like this.
Pub, I think, in my aspect. And I think that's one of the coolest things I think about Thrive is that sometimes you go off and that you've, like, in that kind of humanising thing, you've sat there and watched someone speak for an hour about this epic work and this and that, and then like they just sat next to you eating pizza like a few hours later, and you almost feel that you can speak to them as a person rather than like a speaker.
The educator, the speaker that they're doing, because they have to put on that. Well, that's quite an intense thing doing, like the speaking and sitting in front of people and doing that, right?
Yeah,
so
they might even turn around
their
to you
minds
and go,
going.
I was bricking it earlier. Oh, I was so nervous. And
well, that's the thing. I think the Lawsons did say that in their podcast before because they did 2 film schools. They did one a couple of weeks before that, and they said that they were like a little bit nervous for the first one or whatever. And you just think like that's. Like, you think about what they're thinking. I'm nervous turning up, not knowing anyone, sort of thing, and like they've got to sit there for 7 hours and talk to you, sort of thing. But yes, and the last thing is they did like a film review sort of thing, which was sort of at the end.
See, I'd find that the most nerve-wracking.
It was
like showing us like someone else's film, but also in front of everybody else as well.
No, so it wasn't in front of everyone.
Was it
not? No. So they were doing it off separately. Bit of a weird situation where we got kicked out of the place we were in, and I think they kind of had to watch mine without sound, but like, so they got to see the visuals, not much of the sound. But I think the takeaway from that is it's really interesting to show other videographers your work. If you've got it's really important, I think, to have a friend in the industry, and it's probably the same with you with photography, that you can send a full gallery to or a full film and you can be open with each other.
Yeah.
I've sent my films to a couple of videographers recently and gone, slate it, like, tell me if there's something wrong.
Apart,
I want that. I thrive off of that. I want someone to be like, well, have you done that then? Like, because I then either answer it or I struggle to answer it and be like, I don't know what I've done. That's a good point.
But sometimes that's it, is having that. Like, I found, like, when I was in education or in university, I always used to really like that critique process.
Yeah, definitely.
When you were working on a project, and in the early days, to come in and lay down what you've got, and someone go, no, lean into that bit more, but bin that, or look at this, because that will thrive you onto that. I used to really enjoy that aspect of it opening new doors or closing off things that were dead ends, so you didn't pursue them. And when you are the only person other than your clients that view your work, you almost need someone with that educated eye who sees beyond the fact that that's their family and they're the client. Is almost to go, no, you do. Oh, do you know what? If you just did this, you would
see beyond the emotional element, because your couple is generally only like seeing it from an emotional perspective, which is great because you get that leg up, and it doesn't need to be a 10 out of 10 film every single time, because you're there looking at it from that with those rose tinted glasses. But also,
there might be stuff in there that you're not showing, like on Instagram, because they only see your best of and have an opinion about you, and go, but you know what? You're actually like, you could market with this stuff because it's so much more powerful. Or your films, when you actually watch a whole film, like what you share as highlights isn't justified of what you actually do. Yeah. Because I was thinking it's about a lot of these, again, kind of editorial stuff photographers, is that they must still take photos of cutting the cake.
Guests and cake and very random bits.
And it's like, well, and there's only so many ways you can go about that.
Yeah.
In a certain way. So it's kind of only certain bits where I always kind of think that is I'd love to see like photographers that I think, oh, they're really like super, like I'd love to see a full gallery for them, and see how they go about those sometimes quite mundane parts of the day.
We like, I always find, and I think we've spoken about this before, is that I've spoken to photographers on the wedding day, and they charge 3 times what I do, and they're doing exactly the same as every photographer that I've seen do. They're just branded better, or they've just done something that's like they've just had the balls to do it, basically. But yeah, so I would recommend it. I'd recommend education. You've got a few things here that, like, in terms of like little bits of advice, like take notes.
Yes, I think that's one of the few things. Obviously, I've been to Thrive 6 times, going again in March, and I've done a couple of like individual workshops. I did Ed Godden's workshop in 2019, so I did the Sam Docker business one last year, and I'm debating doing another one this year. I haven't quite pulled the trigger on it yet, but I'm very, very close to doing that. I think mainly invest in yourself. And I've written this in my notes, and I've said it to anybody. I've learned far more and made bigger changes in my business from spending money on education than I have spending it on cameras and lenses.
That's easily,
true.
Yeah.
But I also think there's certain workshops and conferences for certain times. So work out what it is that you want to get from something and find the workshop or conference that suits you.
Yeah.
Like go in something like way up north where it's lovely to go to a European city and sit in a room of 500 other photographers and videographers and listen to these, awe-inspiring and emotional talks. But if you're literally still working a full-time job and just want to get out and earn money from your camera, that may be not the thing that's going to tip you to go full-time.
Yeah.
You maybe need to go something which is more kind of practical based and less kind of ideas and emotions. So it's kind of finding out, those people that you do look up to, see if they're offering education or seeing what is out there and catering to what you need. Yeah. Take notes, definitely. The amount of times that I've been doing something and like a light bulb's gone off my head and going, I remember listening to a talk about this, or someone doing a talk on that subject somewhere, and then digging out a notebook,
referring to notes,
and then going, oh, actually, they mentioned this, or look at this thing, or they mentioned, like we do on the pod, like a little app that they use, or something, and I've written it in the corner of a page, and it might be 6 months later that I'm actually going in action in that, because at that time I processed it, but didn't need that advice.
But also write down everything, because you might there was a point where I was like, I should write down even the things they're saying that I already do. Yeah. So that when I'm thinking, oh, I need to ditch this, I can look back and be like, oh, actually, this is why I'm doing it, because I've taken a note from this thing.
I find as well, which is probably maybe says far more about my psychological state than anything else, is either I write notes to myself whilst I'm taking notes on things. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're writing notes like what they're saying, I'm going to kind of process it in that instant and go, you need to do this. Like
add this to questionnaire.
Or I'm sure, like in one of my business, there's like in capital letters in the big of my page, there's like getter an accountant. And it's like I self-censored there, so we haven't got to put an E on it on the episode, but and stuff like that. Because I don't have one, and it's just those little kind of like prompts of like when I read through it, it's like, well, that was obviously important. Or in that moment, I'm like, oh, I actually really need to do that.
I've done that as well. I was like, do this to the film, put this in the questionnaire. I've got little bits in the
I think
bottom
one
of my
of
notes.
them was I remember listening to someone talk ages ago. And him talking about doing bridal portraits at a window and almost using the curtains as to control light. Yeah. So if the room's nice, you leave the curtains wide open and take your bridal portrait because you'll see the room. Yeah. But if the room's got loads of rubbish in it, it's like shut the
dark on the wall.
And me having shut the damn curtains. That was like a huge light bulb moment for me. Yeah. From going, oh, well, that's why my bridal portraits don't look like that. Yeah. And that's all he's doing. He's not got a much more expensive camera than me. He's just shut the curtains. Yeah. And that was probably the biggest takeaway that I took from that.
But that's instantly increased that quite a big part of your prep stuff, yeah.
And it's almost, I think sometimes is also that it's knowing that you need to be in a place in your business or in your mindset of the journey that you're on to take that advice constructively, or be at a level where you understand A and B, so that when someone's giving you C and D points, you're at a point where you understand it.
Yeah, definitely.
But there's no point going to a conference or a workshop on how to enter the luxury market and charge 6 figures if you're not even full-time yet.
Yeah, if you're just starting up sort of thing. Yeah.
That might be your end goal.
I feel that's a good point is pick your... Yeah. You've obviously, education as a whole, is something that we're recommending and obviously saying right now, it's helped us. But like you say, you've got to pick the right people, the right thing. Yeah. For me, it was I never really actively searched for a film school. I saw it on the Lawson's Instagram story. I knew that my work was very similar. I knew that their values and what they film was very similar. And I was like, okay, if I'm going to learn from anybody, it's going to be someone who's similar to me. Whereas I couldn't work from maybe I could learn something, but I wouldn't necessarily get as much from someone like Philip White or someone who's maybe a bit more editorial or something, because that I'll be sat there listening to how to pose people and stuff like that, and I wouldn't be caring as much. And granted there'd be some little bits there, but I feel like if you identify with a certain videographer and you aspire to that work, or that they're quite similar to you, you're much more likely to get more out of it in terms of where you want to be in the future.
And I think it's find your people as well. Yeah. Because if you make films, if you want to make films like them, or you do make films similar to them, you know that probably you resonate on many more things, which is why that you are drawn to that style of videography. The people that are sat next to you, hopefully their style. Yeah. So they're going to film and going to think about these things in a similar way to you do anyway. Definitely. So there's going to be less conflict. So the people that you meet are probably going to be much more like-minded in business, in the way that or in work than they are to you as well. So it's not just a case of going and listening to that person that you've paid for. It's that whole, you do kind of find your place within the industry, or the people which think the same as you do, and it becomes a much bigger thing, doesn't it? Rather than just I'm listening to this person because I think they take
they take nice stuff, or they're popular and that's it, like that, So yeah, overall, I'd recommend it. If I was to go back, I would definitely do education a lot earlier. I feel like that's a missed opportunity for me. So I recommend, if you're in early stages, and thinking about buying gear, definitely invest in some education. I know people say it all the time, but as someone who didn't do it for a while and has now done it, I feel like I could have learned a lot earlier. And Pete and Laura are lovely. They're exactly how they sound on the pod. They're absolutely lovely people.
That's the main thing.
Really nice.
Like that rock star mentality. Like if you met them and they were dicks, and I'm like, damn it, I must don't want to do it. But no, I'm lovely to hear they are.
Someone was like, never meet your idols. No, they were really nice, and like I said, put it all on the table, so it was good.
Yeah, I listened to Pete speak back in 2019 maybe. Well, the last time that the photography farm was in London.
Yeah.
He was there, and he gave a talk then on more or less, I think, kind of on videography as someone that had done the switch from photo to video, and I remember enjoying his talk then, but it was a little while ago. So
back in the photo days,
So but I think that's the main thing is got to do education. Like if you were in a day job, you get sent on courses to further your skills or to brush up on skills or to learn new ones. So us as business owners, I think it's our responsibility to, we don't get any practice days or we don't get that, is to go and learn and expand yourself,
learn
and
from similar people.
Stay hungry and grow. And that's the best way to do it.
Amazing. Cool. I think that's a good place to round up.
I think we're well and truly caught up now, aren't we? I mean, that's it. Like we've covered Disney, we've covered what we've been up to. We're both at a really good place to start our seasons. And spoken a bit about education, which I feel like maybe we'll approach again at some point. But I feel like it was maybe we'll even approach some ourselves. I know it's definitely been in there somewhere.
Yes, that's definitely something I want to do, especially after going to
listen to us week in, week out, and you can come and have a Pete and Laura moment with us.
Let us know if you're listening this far into the podcast, which means you must be enjoying it. Then let us know if you would like some sort of workshop for us both to do. I feel like because we do photo and video, it'd be more of a business style workshop. But but we can make it work. I think. I'd love to do.
And I think again, now you've come back from some education. Even kind of scope that idea out of the way that how you could present something. I think
part of it was because I never really knew what education. What it looked like, and knowing what it is now is quite achievable. We sit here and do this all the time. All you've got then is extra presentation material and videos and photos to show. So
maybe it's happening then. Maybe the capture code will be expanded this year.
This is the seed. We're planting the seeds. Let us know if you'd like to. All right, amazing. Well, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and we'll be back in 2 weeks' time.